We will focus today on our project, on our archaeological project in Beidaud. First of all, we will talk about the place where this whole project takes place. Then we will explain the choice for our precise location for the project. We will present the project, focusing on objectives, on the methodology that we use, on the team infrastructure available or not available, on logistics, of course, on financing, because even if we don't like to talk about these things, they are a very important part of all research projects. And of course, I will present the results and perspectives. So, for those of you who are not familiarized with the area in question, as I am specializing in Roman archaeology, I treat this area as part of the Roman Empire. So just for you to understand, it is located in Murea Inferior, nowadays Romania, on the Western Black Sea shore. The ancient province of Murea Inferior, namely the northeastern part of that province, in present day Dobruja, the Romanian part of Dobruja, an area which is has a very specific and important geographical setting. Because as you can see, that area is determined by two major geographical features, namely the Black Sea on one hand, which provides maritime connection to the rest of the Greek world and then the Roman world, with other places of the Black Sea, and of course the Danube, which borders this area on the western part and on the northern part. And of course, the Danube Delta and the Danube itself provides access to here part of Europe. There's somebody who has his or her microphone open. If you can please switch it off. Right. Focusing even more, we are dealing with a specific area, which is inner Dobruja. So we are not talking about the littoral, the coastal line or the Danube line, but the interior. And the interior part of Dobruja has been researched very little. There's very little things that we know. Most of the, if you read the publications, most maps show, I don't know, 20, 30 dots, 20, 30 settlements that we know of, and that is all. And the situation, the real situation is totally different, because if you consult the Romanian archaeological repertoire, there are literally thousands of sites in Dobruja, and we don't know anything or almost nothing about 95% of them. And this was one of the points of that attracted us to this area. How did we get to this particular place? Well, as Thibaut told you, we have worked, my team and I have worked for a long time in Istros on the Black Sea shore, the ancient colony, Milesian colony of Istros, which was founded in the 7th century BC. And there we have a research project focusing on the Acropolis, the central southern part of the Acropolis. You can see it in the red square, and where we have identified a residential block, an insula, which we have been researching for a long time. So This project deals with a urban milieu, and we've known for a long time, and especially since Polignac's and Rickwert's works, we know that you can't understand a city, you can't understand an urban center without its territory. So after a few years of snooping around and trying to figure out what to do, we decided to start a project in the territory of Istros. Where in the territory? Well, we settled on Beidaud, the Beidaud area. Why Beidaud? As you can see on the map, it is a border. It is at the periphery of the Istrian territory. It is located around 35 kilometers northwest of Istros. And it has a very interesting context for us. Why? First of all, this is the area we are mainly dealing with right now. It is the Hamangia River Valley, which flows down and drains out in the Golovica Lake. Why is it so important for us? Because it has several sites on its along its valley. So we are not dealing with one site, but we are dealing with a geographically defined area. We have identified in this area up to now 4 archaeological sites, ranging over a very long period of time. First of all, just downstream from the village of Beidaud, we have a Neolithic site belonging to the Hamangia culture at the La Gradina point, which you can see over here. We haven't started investigating it. We are developing slowly a project that we need specialists for. The second and maybe most spectacular site is a fortified settlement, which you can see in the center left part of the photograph on the Kalebair Hill. This site is the only one that was investigated archaeologically. It was excavated. I will show you immediately the picture. A third site is a rural Roman settlement on this hill. It was identified and dated to the 2nd, 3rd centuries AD. Also, a tumular funerary space north of it and west of it. But the location of this funerary space was not very precise in the public archives. So going back to the sites, as you can see, we have a huge time range to deal with. The fortified settlement was investigated at the end of the 1970s and beginning of the 80s by the then director of the museum in Tulcea. And as you can see in the photograph, 2 long trenches were dug. They shed light on certain aspects of this settlement. First of all, the dating of the settlement. There's clearly, the area was clearly occupied, started with the first Iron Age. Then there is a fortification, which you can see in the plan in the upper part of the upper left part of the screen. A fortification with probably 2 ditches and 3 entrances, which is very well defended on 3 sides, as it is surrounded by the Hamangia River to the west and the Solojan River to the east. And what we know about it is that during the it continues to function during the Hellenistic period and up to the late Roman period. We don't know exactly to what extent, if we have permanent dwellings or not. What we do know is that during the Archaic period, it receives the defense works, and at that time, crucial for the Greek colonizing of inner Dobruja, so that in the territory, that's when Istros sent its citizens to colonize the territory. It is the only fortification, the only fortress in the area. So it is probably a contact point between the indigenous population, which we don't know if it is a Thracian tribe like the Getae or maybe Scythians, we have absolutely no idea, or other populations, and the Greeks. We don't know if it is a Greek fortress built against the indigenous population or an indigenous fortress built to deal with the Greeks. And we certainly hope we will find out at a certain moment. That is practically all. The tumular funerary space was not dated, and this constituted an important problem for us that we had to deal with, and as we shall see. So we decided on the area of interest, and we had to start somewhere. So we started from certain questions, like how did the interaction between the urban center and the rural space take place? Also, what was the relation between all the villages in the territory during the Greek period, and especially during the Roman period, for which we have many more sources? How did they function? What was their connection? Why were they built there? And that led us to the next question: what was the interaction between these villages, these communities, and their natural environment, and especially how did they impact each other? And this means that we have to pay attention to the natural resources that allow these communities to exist and to thrive, or not. This is something that we have to investigate. So what we basically focus on is the pattern for colonizing the territory and understanding how this network of settlement works. What were the roads connecting them? How did they contribute to the urban center that they were part of whose territory they were part of? And this created, and the name of the project, as you can see, is the Hamangia Valley from prehistory to the medieval period. It's of course, very generous title for a very long period of time, because we don't know what we are going to find eventually. And we are focusing on the way human communities appeared and evolved in this area. The questions that we asked led us to a number of objectives. First of all, we have to establish we have to discover all the sites that we can in this area. And we decided from the beginning to focus on settlements with their funerary space, because usually archaeologists just focus on funerary spaces or on settlements, because the people who are excavating funerary spaces are specialized in funerary archaeology and so on. So it depends on their formation. Also, we want to take into account other archaeological features in the territory, like production centers. There's for example, at Dal, we have information that there is a kiln, a ceramic building material kiln there, which might have supplied the entire area with building material. We want to investigate that. There's possibly an exploitation of copper in Altyn Tepe. We want to investigate if there is any connection to the between the development of settlements in the area and that mine. In order to investigate anything, one of the objectives has to be understanding, having a clear image of the area's topography. Of course, once we know the topography and we identify the sites, we need to understand what those sites are and date them, establish their general structure, and then settle on ways to further investigate them. And at the same time, we have to take action in the direction of reconstructing the paleo-environment through geoarchaeology, through archaeozoology, and all the other branches of these scientific fields. We had to develop a automatically a multi-proxy approach for this type of project, because from the beginning it's impossible to have anything but an interdisciplinary approach for it. So first of all, in order to get that topographic image, in order to see all the sites, in order to further examine them, we had to use topography and obtain detailed orthophoto maps from which we can extract everything, topographic plans, digital elevation models, 3D models, LiDAR, of course, and integrate everything. In order to use this data, you have to integrate it in a GIS platform. Then, for the reconstruction of the paleo-environment, geoarchaeological and archaeozoological approach. Through that, we get an idea about the area's ancient vegetation, ancient fauna, the geomorphology, and everything, and how these changed in time, or if they changed in time. And of course, we have the expected archaeological approach, which has, as we have a large variety of sites, we need to adapt them. And for the two obvious categories, we have to use specific methods. So there are 3 stages in the archaeological approach. Pre-excavation. For this, we have to identify in the field and give preliminary descriptions of the sites through field surveys, then geophysical surveys, mainly magnetometry and georadar, but also tomography and less electrical resistivity. Electric resistivity will be used mainly for the geoarchaeological investigations. Then there's the excavation proper, which has to be adapted. We are going to use wheeler boxes, so the square grid, for horizontal excavations like settlements, and of course vertical excavations for slopes and for defensive works, such as defensive walls. Post-excavation phase, of course, material analysis, and we have, first of all, pottery, which is in huge quantities, metal objects, glass objects. All these will give us information on the local production and trade and all the normal information that you usually get from this type of analysis. All our recording process is as detailed as we could design it. We document everything on MOLAS sheets, on Museum of Land Archaeological Section sheets. all the measurements are taken in the Romanian National Topographic System, Stereo 70. We are developing our own excavation protocol especially with a special focus on funerary complexes. That with the aid of with the major contribution from our French colleagues, which I will talk about later. So, in order to do all that, you need a big team. And of course, from the beginning, we have the two institutions that started this project, namely the University of Bucharest, which has the scientific coordination of the entire project, and the Museum of Tulcea, the Institute for Eco-Museal Research in Tulcea. And we have, as you can see, a number of specialists from the Faculty of History, myself and my team, specializing in all types of materials. And of course, we have our doctoral student, Adrian Șerbenescu, who specializes in geophysics. We have a team led by Professor Vespremanu Stroie and Lumința Preotasa from the Faculty of Geography. So they specialize in geoarchaeology. And from the museum in Tulcea, we have Sorina Ilincăi, Radu Stănescu, Florian Mihail, Răzvan Cernamoriț, and they also contribute to our project. Not from the beginning, but very soon after, we managed to get a new and very important addition to the team from Aix-Marseille Université, namely Gaël Granier and Elodie Cazerta, who specialize in Roman funerary archaeology, archaeothanatology, which is very important, and of course, anthropology. We have several collaborations with other institutions from Romania and from abroad, with the Vasile Pârvan Archaeological Institute in Bucharest, with the National History Museum and the National History and Archaeological Museum in Constanța, with the Institute for Southeastern Studies in Bucharest, with the University of Texas. Actually, Professor Rabinowitz was one of our initial supporters, and he helped us with a lot of things. And with Pennsylvania State University, Sterling Wright, who is working on ancient DNA, microbiome, and genetics. For such a project, which covers a large area, you need special tools. And first of all, infrastructure. This has been a problem from the beginning because we have no archaeological base. And we managed to get by with the precious help of the museum in Tulcea. We use their bases, the base in Celic Dere or in Slava Rusă. But still, we need a base to develop our projects even further. We need more space, and we need predictability, which is very important in a long-term project. Fortunately, we have started, and we are making progress in developing this base in the nearby village of Panduru. So hopefully, in 1 or 2 years, we will be able to use our own base. Second, logistics. Of course, we have all the tools, or most of the tools that we need for an archaeological excavation. What we don't have, and it might seem, in certain cases, in certain projects, it might not be important, but in our case, it is essential: transportation. The University of Bucharest was very generous and gave us a pickup truck, so a 4x4, the first one in this series. The second one, we managed to buy through an NGO that I created. And for the third car, we use what we have each year, mostly the car of one of our former students and now doctoral candidate, Francesca Știrbu, but we also rented cars and so on and so forth. So it's very difficult. Everything that we managed to do was done with great difficulty from a logistic and infrastructure point of view. And we come to the thing that makes the world go round, financing. So, of course, each institution brings its own contribution. Most of it comes from the University of Bucharest, but ICEN Tulcea and Aix-Marseille also are contributing and supporting their own project members. There was a summer school, a CIVIS summer school. CIVIS is a cartel of European universities, and the University of Bucharest is part of it, as well as Aix-Marseille University. And that's where we met Gaël Garnier and Elodie Caserta, and we started our collaboration. So it was a very efficient and productive summer school. We also, each year we apply for funds from the Ministry of Culture, and we started obtaining those funds, which are very important. But we also tried to obtain funds from private sources, which is very difficult in Romania because there's no culture for financing for sponsorship. Even so, we managed to get some funds through the Asociația Cetatea Histria, which is the NGO that I created, but also through another NGO, Educație pentru Succes, and also from private donors, and through that we managed, for example, to create a presentation clip. You can see the photograph in the middle last year. And of course, further funding through projects. So let's get to the results up to now. And we start with topography. In 2021, the pandemic was almost over. We started the topographical survey. Assistant Professor Florin Nache from the Faculty of Geology and Geodesy in Bucharest made a drone flight, and he created this orthophoto map, orthophoto plan, which you can see, and from it this covers an area of approximately 200 hectares. So it is quite a large area, but as you will see, we need to extend that. From it, he extracted the topographic plan, the digital elevation model. We have this for the entire area, and it is, as you can see, extremely suggestive. And finally, he created a 3D model of the entire area, which is very good, especially not only for understanding the topography sitting in front of your computer, but also in case for the moment that we will have to do restoration works or putting to good value the monuments that we discovered, introducing them in a tourist circuit. And last but not least, this is Professor Nache. We created a network of topographic points from where we can take measurements, precise measurements with the total station all over the area that he covered. Second approach, geoarchaeology. Professor Vespreanu-Stroi's team undertook a first geoarchaeological campaign in 2021, and he obtained 2 cores at the mouth of the Hamangia. The first one wasn't very useful, but the second one, Hamangia 2, which you can see in the middle of this photograph, proved to be a success, and he identified 4 sedimentological sequences, one of which could be dated preliminary to the Holocene. So the analysis is not over, but we will have preliminary results hopefully this year. And also we will build on that, but I will tell you about that later. Here you have on the left-hand side, you have the core stratigraphy with the preliminary interpretation. Then we started with phase 2, the field phase. And we started, as I've mentioned, with field surveys. In 2021, we undertook 3 such field surveys. The first one was on the hill where the Roman rural settlement was identified in the late 1970s. And we managed to identify a number of wall trajectories, but we were not very convinced because the bedrock, the natural bedrock, is very high. So we, in some cases, we didn't really believe that they were Roman walls. But this changed with the second field survey you will see immediately. We continued westwards and we identified large portions of the tumular funerary space, including a row of tumuli, which you can see here in the digital animation model. There are 6 of them. And there's also, you can see here, part of the tumular necropolis west of the Roman village. And this was very important, the identification of this row of tumuli, as you will see. During the second field survey, we followed the Dobruja River Valley, and when we got to the end of this valley, we found that there's a place here where the slope of the hill was broken by water torrents, and there we just saw Roman walls. We were absolutely positive that this was a Roman village. We found Roman material pottery that we could date, ceramic building materials, everything. You can see in this photograph there is the trace left by a dolium. So no doubt this was a Roman settlement. We then continued westwards, well, to the west-southwest along this plateau. And this was very important. Why? Because in this area we found a lot of what looked like walls. Okay, they are just trajectories of stones that were not supposed to be there, and some of these trajectories intersected at a right angle, but they did not look like walls. And why are they important? Because we then later on identified on this aerial photograph, I don't know how well you can see it, I can see them, but all over this area you can see there are so many structures. These are clearly man-made structures, rectangular, even circular. And of course the question was, what are they? The only material that we could find was Roman, but it was in very, very small quantities. So what we decided to do is to investigate these structures further, especially as we found out this year that an inscription from this area mentions an association for Silvanus. So it's a dedication for Silvanus, and Silvanus is also the protector of the agricultural fields limits. And one of the theories that we are working with is that these, in fact, are agricultural terrains or agricultural parcels. We don't know, but we are going to investigate, and I'm going to talk about how we intend to investigate them. The third field survey was not very successful, but we managed to identify this area as an area with natural defenses. There's clearly a place that did not need any special works for defending from any potential enemy. In 2023, following some information received by the museum in Tulcea, under the supervision of Radu Stănescu from the museum in Tulcea, we started doing field surveys on the Ceamurlia Valley. So you can see Beidaud is here, the area that concerns us is here. The Ceamurlia Valley is here. It is in direct connection to one of our major objectives, Altân Tepe, which is the copper mine, the ancient copper mine, which unfortunately is covered by the modern settlement. So, and the mine is probably destroyed, the modern mine probably destroyed any ancient structures, but still we are going to investigate. Well, in this area, we managed to identify a completely unknown settlement, which completes our image, because if you look on this map, you have Roman settlements all around this area. There are so many of them. Also in Pandulu, another one. So the entire area is dotted with Roman rural settlements, including this one, which you can see. It is surrounded by this square. And so this is the settlement, and we also identified its necropolis, which is made out of, the funerary space, which is made out of tumuli. Some of them are flattened by agricultural works. Some of them on this ridge are very well preserved and spectacular, actually. There are several dozens of them. With geophysics, we had some very interesting results. Of course, the first thing we did was to investigate the fortified settlement, which promises to give excellent results. Unfortunately, with geophysics, it did not work so well. We did Adrian Șerbenescu coordinated a magnetometry prospection, and the results are not good. So he will recalibrate his tools and try another approach this year. But what he did manage to identify is a second ditch over here. So it is clear that on the northern side, this settlement had a second defensive line. Results that we got were in the Roman village. As you can see, Adrian Șerbenescu undertook a magnetometry prospection, which covers about 1/3, we estimate, of the whole settlement. And here there are a lot of structures that can be seen, buildings clearly, and maybe even paved roads or dividing walls. And in the lower part, you can see a anomaly which is so strong that we were convinced that it was a kiln, a pottery, or a ceramic building material kiln, and we decided to investigate it. But that is for later. When Adrian Șerbenescu undertook a georadar prospection, the results were spectacular. As you can see in these images, on the left-hand side, you have the magnetometry results, and then the georadar results. It seems that this area is very well suited for georadar investigation. As you can see, we have some buildings for which we can see very well the plan, especially the one in the upper part, which has a classical rural dwelling plan, Roman rural dwelling plan, with an internal court surrounded by, of course, different domestic spaces. Then the intrusive part of the investigation, the archaeological excavation. As I've told you, we had no dating for the tumular funerary space. So we started with that. We decided to investigate the role of tumuli discovered northwest of the Roman village. And we chose one which looked promising, not too small, not too big. Tumulus number 1. And since 2021, so this is a very new, a very young project. It's not mature like the one in Istros. In 3 campaigns, we managed to almost finish one of the first tumulus, and we started the second one. Just to give you a quick idea about what we found 13, and we investigated 13 funerary complexes, most of which are cremation complexes, the traditional stepped pit, so-called graves, but in none of them in none of them we discovered the right quantity of human remains in order to be able to pronounce them a grave. So they were probably just cremation complexes, structures, semi-aerial cremation structures, where the body was cremated, and the remains were then gathered and deposited in a second location, the grave, which we did not find until now. And in some cases, this initial structure was partially destroyed, razed, and buried inside the tumulus. We also discovered 4 inhumation structures. The hypothesis that we are working with right now is that the inhumations were reserved for non-adults, at least in 2 cases, the one on the right-hand side and the one on the upper left. In the upper left, we have an infant, and then in the right-hand side photograph, we have clearly a non-adult. In all cases, there were stone markers in the grave or around the grave. Even in the lower left one, but the markers were found under this layer. As I've told you earlier, following the magnetometry prospection, we identified this anomaly, and we decided, okay, maybe this is a pottery kiln, so we should investigate it. And we started an excavation, which was not very successful. We did manage to refine the chronology of the Roman settlement, but we found no kiln. We just found a structure made of adobe walls, which was destroyed by fire, by a very powerful fire, which created the powerful anomaly. But we are going to continue our investigation. In the third phase, the lab phase, we of course started, but it is a lot to do. We started the anthropological analysis, and we organized a workshop, and we continue to organize workshops in the autumn with our colleagues Gal Granier and Elodie Caserta, in order to first analyze the human remains, and second, teach our students and young specialists how to do it. And of course, we have already started with the material analysis, especially pottery. We have several articles that were published, the ceramic building material as well. Also, glass and metal objects were sent for analysis, and they will be published hopefully next year. Perspectives. Well, we need to expand our research, and first of all, by enlarging our image of the entire area. And this will be done using LiDAR. I have won a senior researcher grant at the Research Institute of the University of Bucharest, which is ongoing. And in April and May, there will be a field campaign which aims at doing LiDAR prospections over the entire area. So what was covered by the orthophoto plan, plus this area of interest that I talked to you about with the strange structures. And also we have started a collaboration with the National Institute for Earth Physics in Bucharest, and we intend to cover a much larger area with LiDAR, including the area around Altyn Tepe and all the settlements in that area, in that specific area, in order to understand if there was a connection between this copper mine and the settlements that appeared around it. Also, we are applying for a very important project, the Center of Excellence 2024, in which we are trying to, well, if we obtain it, we will have the means to prospect a much larger area with LiDAR, both in the Beidaud Archaeological Microzone and in the Altyn Tepe area. This goes also for geophysics. In June and July, there will be 2 geophysics campaigns under the funerary space. So as far as excavation goes, we need to finish excavating the funerary space, the funerary space, and then expand to other areas through projects such as Erasmus Plus, partnerships, and also ERC projects. Gael Granier is going to apply for one in the following years. Also, we need to continue excavating the Roman rural settlement. We need to finish the structure that we have already begun, but especially we need to focus on the major constructions, the major buildings in this Roman village, and then also focus on the area to the southwest to see if indeed these are archaeological parcels or parcels used for animal husbandry or whatever. We need to investigate them, this is for sure. And of course, when we get the right infrastructure and logistics, we will attack the fortified settlement. But until then, we need to gather our strengths and develop the project and the team accordingly. So with that, I would like to finish with my favorite photograph with the team dead tired after a day of field work. Thank you very much.